What happens when you cut apart a perfectly good Ford short bed? I'm not exactly sure, so stick around and find out with me. Let's take a look at the bed. Right now you can see if I grab the back, you can see I'm separating everything. Same on this side. We're fully separated with the exception of just this top edge right here. I'm gonna grab a clamp here. I'm gonna clamp this bed rail together. Now when I cut this line, this clamp should help hold this side up. I'm also gonna throw a jack under the back side here, just to help hold this thing up when I do cut one side off, and then we'll see how this goes. Let me get you up on the tripod. Let's see how this comes apart. All right, I'm just gonna bring the jack up until it just touches the bottom side here. Put a little pressure on it, just like that. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and cut this side first. This side has the clamp on it. That way when I cut through this, it'll stay in place. I can come over, cut this one, kind of make sure everything's balanced and not gonna fall, and then I'll remove that clamp, and we will move this back piece out of the way. It does appear that that is loose now. So now I'll come over here and cut this side. Okay, just like that. See, now I've got my jack in place and I still have that clamped up, so I can kind of get some control over the situation here. How do you not have a jack in place? I think and you're only working by yourself, this could get out of control pretty quickly here. So I'm gonna go ahead and pop this clamp off, and it appears that we're not fully loose on this side yet. Yeah, something is still hung up somewhere. See if I can see where. Oh, I see. Just the smallest amount on the outside quarter panel didn't get cut through. Okay, let me reposition. Oh, there it goes. Okay, not how I wanted this to go. All right. Okay. That wasn't exactly what I planned, but hey, we got it off the truck. Yikes, I hope you have a 6-foot wingspan because it's 6 foot from stake pocket to stake pocket, and I was just barely able to hang on to that thing. We've got the back half off the bed. It's one of those looking scary times again. Let's take a look here. So, off the bed, here's our back cap that we're gonna weld back in. Now I need to come in here and I need to cut out this last 4-inch strip all the way up and across. So that's what we're gonna do. There's the 4-inch strip taken out. This is our back section. What I'm doing is I'm coming in with a drill and a poly lock and just cleaning up inside the fenders in these hard areas that are gonna be hard to reach. You see this bracket ended up being worse than I thought. I'm probably gonna have to come back and patch this section in on this bracket, but I'm gonna hold off on that for now. So I'm just trying to get the areas of the cross member up inside this fender that are gonna be hard to get later on with the poly lock and a wire wheel, and just cleaning all this up. I'm gonna come back and hit that with some rust reformer paint, just some black rust reformer, to knock down the rust in that area, hopefully lock all that in, keep it from getting any worse. Well, you may not be able to tell, but I took the wire wheel to all this and cleaned this up really good. I got all of the old seam sealer off, and I kind of figured out where I'm gonna have to patch these things. So this side, you can see the bed's pretty thin, even all the way up back through here. I'm not gonna repatch all of this. I think what I decided is, just for symmetry, I'm gonna carry this patch straight across. Now I don't need to patch in the center, but my two outside patches will come up to the same level across. It'll look a little bit more symmetrical. Not really that big of a deal ultimately, but I think that'll look the best for kind of an ugly patch job. I did get the inside of this all painted with the rust reformer paint. It looks way better already. And then in addition to that, when we're done with this bed, I'm gonna flip the whole bed up on the front panel. We're gonna wire wheel the crap out of the bottom of this thing, and then we're gonna repaint the entire bottom of the truck, just to kind of preserve what's there, keep it from getting any worse. All right, I'm gonna let you guys watch me struggle here by myself. So I've just got the end cap leaning up against the bed for now, and I'm just gonna wing it here. I'm not entirely sure what the best course of action is gonna be, but I think I'm gonna try and get this set up on my jack here, I think, and then we'll try and fit this into place and get it clamped into place. So let's just set that back. Ooh, 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 ooh. Okay, let's drive. Oh, that is definitely not what I wanted to do. Whatever. It's a crappy old work truck bed anyways, right? Okay, let's try again here. I think I don't have a flat spot underneath this cutoff, which is part of the problem here. Okay, maybe that. Okay, let's bring this guy up. I just need to get it close for the moment. And once I'm close, I'm going to throw a clamp on one side here. I'm not at all worried about alignment at the moment. I'm just trying to get it held in place safely, just like that. I grab myself another clamp here and lift this up into place. Well, not wanting to cooperate. I really don't think that's going to stay. We'll see. That's a very tenuous clamp connection over there. Yeah, it did not stay. All right. I'm really surprised this one came loose. This is my good clamp. Had it clamped pretty good. Okay. It might be in better shape now. I got that closer where it needs to be. This is closer to where it needs to be. Let's bring this up. Yeah, stay. Okay. All right. Not the smoothest thing in the world, but hey, it's up there. Okay, this will be our first look. Now, obviously, nothing's really fit in. You can see I've still got a pretty good gap down here. Let me see if I can finesse this in to where it needs to be without knocking everything apart. There it goes. That kind of fell into place. Okay. That's better. We still got a pretty good gap there. But let's step back and look at this for a second, because this is our first look at the shortened bed. Now, I'm not really going to know until it's all welded back together, but I think already off the bat, I think this looks better. I just think this distance being shortened, even that 4 inches, makes a difference to the eye. Once we get this back together, you guys are going to have to let me know what you think. Is this totally not worth the time? Because I'm going to have a lot of time in welding this thing up and getting it fit into place. So once it's back together, let me know. Waste of time? Good modification? What do you think? All right, I've been futzing and fighting with this back panel for quite a while now. So I think I'm about ready to start getting a few more tacks in. So let me just give you a look at what I've got done so far and talk you through kind of the best process that I found to make this happen. So let's take a look at the bed. The first thing I did was I aligned these top corners. So I got a clamp into these top corners. I clamped them tight and I put a tack in each side. So I've got a tack over there and I've got a tack here. That was a big help. Just fighting the panel to get that was a challenge. An extra set of hands would go a very, very long way in this process. Wrestling this thing by yourself is a bit of a challenge, just because I would clamp one side, go clamp the other, clamp would fall off on the other side, it'd fall. It was just a fight back and forth. So if you got an extra set of hands, 2 people make this job a lot easier. So once I got those tops clamped up, the next thing I was fighting, I mean, you got so many different ridges and ripples in the bed here. And you know, as much as we plan out the cuts, not everything is perfectly straight. Trying to get things fitting tight, I've got a little bit more gap here than I would like. So I may end up having to come back after I can get a few more spots tacked in and opening this back up to be able to bring that in a little bit tighter. I just had to kind of finesse the cuts, get everything kind of fit and lined up. And the next 2 tacks I put in were right here. So there's a pinch weld that comes all the way down the bed. So I went ahead and I lined up that pinch weld on both sides. So I've got, right now I just have 4 tacks in, top corner and this pinch weld on each side. What that has allowed me to do is this thing will actually kind of stay in place, and now I can start lining up my body lines. So I think my plan of attack here is I'm going to line up the interior body lines first. So I've got these lines up here. You can see I've already ground away the paint for these so I can start tacking. I'm going to get these lines. I'm going to get a tack on each corner of these body lines. I'm going to do that all on the inside first, just tacking. We're not going too crazy with welds. And then I'm going to come back, do a tack on each of these body lines. I'm not going to worry about the lower half too much at this point. We've got all this, remember, we've got all this Bondo in this panel. Again, you can see I've been grinding on that and uncovering that giant mess of Bondo we did with that lower patch before. So that's going to be really ugly by the time it's said and done, because there's so much Bondo in there. Once I have, you know, all my body lines, so this one you'll see I'm actually going to have to take some out of, I'm going to have to bring the cutoff wheel in here and take a little bit more out. But I'm going to just tack each of these body lines, get them all tacked. So I want the inside lines, the outside lines tacked. And then once I've got that, then I'm going to start working this panel down to the outside. I'm going to do the outside lines first. We'll go back and do the inside lines. All the while, as I'm cutting and tacking and fitting things, I'm going to have to be opening up that cut to give me just like a cutoff wheel's width to fill that gap with weld. So as I bring things tight, I'll bring the cutoff wheel in. You might see me cut a few tacks that I previously put in, just to try and get things fit up as well as possible. It's looking pretty good so far. I'm feeling like things are lining up. It's just always a challenge when you've got a big piece like this and you've got so many different body lines and ripples and things, what happens is, you know, you press and push to get one thing lined up and then it pushes something else out of whack. So I'm just taking my time. I think the key word when doing something like this is patience. Don't rush this process. This one especially is just going to require a lot of patience, taking my time, making sure things are lined up properly, and getting everything tacked together. So that's what I'm going to do. It's going to be a long, slow process here. And then even once everything's tacked together, we got a boatload of welding to do on this thing. So we might as well get to it. Let's start getting everything fit up, and let's just hopefully get this thing welded up in this episode. Okay, so I'm going to take my time here. I'm going to look down every time I make a weld here. I'm going to kind of look down the body line, make sure I like it. That's actually pretty good. It pulled this right into shape right here, so that's really good. I'm going to go ahead, put a little pressure on this just to bring those flush, and tack this corner. I've got really good fitment on these panels here. If I ran my finger across them, they're nice and flush. I got a little bit of a panel's popping up just a little bit, but that's more of a difference in the contour of this to this. I can see this is a little more rounded, just probably by nature of where the bed was, or you got things like dents here that affect the shape of the metal here. But I'm actually pretty good. I like this fit. I like this line. I can look down this line here. It looks pretty good. I'm actually going to go look from the other side real quick. Yeah, and looking down the body line, it looks really good. It lines up really nicely. Now I'm just checking up the panel here to make sure we can get things to line up, and it looks really good. It looks really, really good. Now in all the planning and everything, I missed one body line that doesn't line up. Let me show that to you right now. In the corner of this bed, there's two little divots here that carried through the bed, and I got on the back side of those. So I've got this gap. You can see how high that gap is there. So what I'll end up doing, I'll probably skip over this because I am tight at my pinch weld here. When it comes to welding this, I'll weld down the side of this. I'll stop here, and then on my cutoff piece, I'll cut out this little detail from the other panel, and I'll just weld that in here. All right, let me step back and look at the body lines here. I'm actually going to put the flashlight on the panel here so that the light can kind of catch the body lines differently. It'll help me pick them up when I'm looking down. All right, let me show you what I'm looking at. So we're stepped back. We've got the light on the body lines here. Let's move in just a little bit closer so you guys can see this. You can see the lights hitting this, and it's casting a shadow across this upper piece of this body line. So what I'm doing, stepping back and looking and trying to see is, does this apex of this body line carry where I want it? And it doesn't look too bad. The one that is really throwing me off is this lower one here. So where this lines up, it actually doesn't look too bad. I'm going to step back again and look at it. And as you're stepped back and looking at it, it doesn't look awful. It doesn't look awful. I think what I'm really picking up on now that I step back and look is the stamping. So this part of the stamping here has a sharper angle to it and is deeper than this. This is almost flattened out in this section of the stamping. And I think that's what's throwing my eye off, because the line across here is really good where the light lines up. But the problem is that this part of the panel doesn't line up all that well. This is pretty proud of this. I think that's because this section of this is flattened out, probably from just stuff smacking up against it. But I think it's good enough. It's good enough for what we're looking for here. So I'm gonna leave it at that. And then I think the next thing I need to do is to start looking to attack the outside panels. I've got this clamp here. I'm gonna try and get this upper body line lined up first. I just have a little more panel gap than I would really like here. I'm gonna come in here and clean this up a little bit with the cutoff wheel. What I'm thinking about is cutting this top tack back out, opening up the top just a little bit so I can sink this panel back just a hair, not much. I only need like maybe a 1/16 of an inch. It's just this gap is a little more than I want. So let me open up where it's just a little too tight, just like right in here and maybe just a hair here. And then I'm gonna cut this tack up here. We're gonna re-weld this corner and then we'll try and refit everything. I actually like that fit better on top as well. It's lined up a little bit better. Now, we can try and get this fit back together. Yes, that's better. I took a little bit of gap out of there. I still got more up here than I'd like, but we're gonna have to deal with it. I like this edge here. I'm gonna throw a little tack here. Okay, I'm actually gonna tack just above the body line here. So I can pull this clamp, because I can't see the contour line very well, and I want to make sure we're lined up. Yeah, there we go. It will pull right into place. So I'm going to push that in. Yeah, that looks really good. Okay, now here, I know this panel's a little gets wonky down here because it's so thin and flexible, like I was saying earlier in the video. This, because all the structures in here, this part of the sheet metal is not going to warp too much. So I'm trying to match this line back to this part of the bed, because this is going to be more of the true shape of what the side, the bedside should be. I'm going to try and tweak this out for this part of the body line here. Yeah, that worked pretty well. Yeah, we got a really nice, everything's kind of lined up really nice and flowing nicely there. I think I'm gonna leave it just at having these body lines lined up on this side. I'm gonna go do the other side, and I think that's gonna be it for this evening. All right, I'm gonna do this very similar to the other side. I want to kind of pull this panel in place, get it close. I think I like it. I'm gonna put a small tack in here. Yeah, it's not quite where I want it on this line. Let's see if I can get it closer with the clamp here. That's where panel clamps would become in handy. I don't have them, but they would be handy. Yeah, I don't like that at all. So I got decent alignment up here, so it feels like it. But this body line's not lining up very well at all. This is significantly lower than that is, which yeah. So I can shine the light down and say I have really good alignment here, but not here. Just in the way the shadows appeared down the body line. So I just used the flat part of this clamp, and I got the tip of that on the side that was high, and I clamped and I kind of slowly clamped and helped it draw this side up just a little bit, because that's where we're low. And I'm just going to double check with my light again. It's not perfect, but it's better. The light's hitting this line sooner than it is this part of the line here. But now with the light shining down, it's much improved from what it was. All right, I'm just going to put a little tack in it, see if we like it. Pop this off. Don't hate it. I don't hate it. Don't love it. Don't hate it. Yeah, that's not bad actually. I'm being pretty picky now. That's not bad at all. All right, I got it pulled. I got the bed pulled back into the light a little bit, and now you can see what I'm seeing. I am not happy with this body line. I can visibly see that this is lower than this line is. I don't like it, even though looking up here, this feels like it fits pretty good, but actually no, I can tell that now this line is slightly higher than this one. So I'm gonna actually cut this apart and refit this. I'm not gonna do that tonight, but I am going to do that. I'm really happy with the inside of the bed. We've got a lot more fitment to do along the floor, but I'm really happy with the body lines there. And I'm pretty happy with this side. This side turned out pretty nicely. That looks good. That flows nicely. It's pretty obvious when something's off. Your eye can pick up on it pretty easy based on the way the light hits the panel. So it's pretty obvious when something's not right. But let me back up just a hair. You can finally get a look at the final dimensions of this bed. I'm happy with it. I like it. I think it looks better. Let's see how it looks when it's all back together for good. But that's what I'm going to call it for tonight. Not this episode, just for tonight. I'll be back out here in a couple days. We'll get the passenger side refit, and then we're going to start welding on this thing. I probably won't get it all welded in the next episode, or to end this episode, but we'll get a good chunk of it done. I definitely want to get all the fitment done so you guys can see that. The rest of it's just sheet metal welding. You've seen me do a pile of it. So I'll see y'all in a couple days. I've been out here working already for about an hour. You guys saw me go ahead and sand up the panel. That same trouble spot with all the Bondo in it. Had to re-sand that. Just, there's so much Bondo in that panel. I can't really weld that line, vertical line, without taking the Bondo back a little bit. So we went ahead and did that. I'll give you a look at that right now. It's painted up. We're just waiting on this paint to dry so I can get in here, grind the weld lines down again. I'll clean this weld line up as well and re-weld up that side. While that paint was drying on this side, we went ahead and got things realigned. So where I left off the other night, this panel was sitting a little bit too high, actually a little bit too low on this body line. So if you come in here, this was the spot weld that I cut, and you'll notice on the right side how much, like maybe an 1/8 inch lower there where I cut it. So I actually lowered this side of the panel down And we got a nice body line now. I'm gonna take a look down the body line. Looks pretty darn good there. I'm pretty happy with that. It was off quite a bit before. And then I went ahead and I just started getting us tacked in here down this panel. So we're just gonna keep hammering on these panels tonight. I would like to get the outside and inside of both these quarters welded up. So that would leave us with just the floor. And then this weekend I will tackle the floor back here, because we've got to cut a patch to fit in here, and we've got to cut this patch to fit, and then we've got to get all of this welded in under here. So what I'm aiming to do is get from about here on the inside corner panel up, down the outside, up and down the outside done tonight, and that's going to do it for this episode. And then the next episode, we're going to come in here, patch the floor, get this all finished welded up. Then I've got one more episode after that where we are going to sand on the bottom of this thing and get it painted up, and then we're on to the cab. So I'm so looking forward to being done with this bed. It's been so much work. I looked tonight, it's been 3 months. 3 months we've been working on this dang bed. It's just been so rusty, crusty, and all the patching and shortening and modifying. I'm ready to be done with this, and I'm ready to move on to the cab. But we got a lot of work to do before we get there, so let's get after it. First side done. This is exactly what the bed is going to look like on the truck. I'm super pumped about it. I think it looks really good. I got just a tad bit more work to do around the light, a little bit of work to do down under here, and I just discovered a thin rust hole here. We'll patch that eventually. I'm not going to worry about that tonight, but man, this looks good. Loving it. I'm loving it. I think the overall fit's pretty good. I don't know if I'm crazy about all of the weld lines back here, but I'm just gonna leave it for now. We're gonna live with it for a little bit, see what we think. Maybe get it on the chassis, see what we think once it's on the chassis. And then lastly, you've already seen this side. This side is the best looking. Let's roll this into the light here. The passenger side, it's unfortunate it's the passenger side, but it looks so good. I'm super happy with that. This is exactly what I had in mind with the vertical lines. The trim's gonna cover up that seam there. It looks so good. I'm so happy with this. Plus, this side has a majority of its clear coat on it still, so you kind of get the idea that, you know, it is actually going to shine up halfway decent once we get clear coat on it. But I just love it. I love it. I love the look. I think the overall appearance of having this so much shorter now, it's almost the exact same length from front to back. Actually, let's get a tape measure and put it on. So let's see, we got the tape measure out. We're just gonna measure, it's about 21 inches. See that, it's about 21 inches down there. And now, oh yeah. So to the taper, maybe 18 inches. Before, where this section was actually longer than the front, it's now shorter. That's exactly what we were going for. I'm super thrilled with it. I think it's gonna look great on the truck. So that's gonna do it for tonight, guys. Thank you all for watching. Thank you all for subscribing. We hit 1,000 subscribers. I'm so pumped. It's the first milestone on this journey. I'm hoping we get a whole lot more subscribers, but for all you first 1,000 subscribers to the channel, thank you, thank you, thank you. I can't thank you enough. Thank you for supporting the channel. Thank you for watching the videos. If you're not subscribed, please think about it. It's simple, it's free. It doesn't cost you anything. Click subscribe, check out what we're doing. As usual, guys, if you don't work on your project, it will not work on itself. Get out in the garage, get building, and I'll see you on the next episode of Cody Builds.